Hey folks, Valentin the Med here, and today we'll be looking at the response mechanics in the Callisto Protocol. So, first up is the big mutilation. You have dismemberment, 2 points of amputation for the arms, one for the legs, heads can be destroyed, they have several damaged variations, and there are some variations on the character torsos too. As for the looks, it kinda varies. On one hand, some of the stumps are very cool. You get the bone and what is either veins, nerves, maybe both. There's some blood around the point of amputation, and the head cutouts for the variations are very nice and nasty. On the other hand, the flesh around the stump model is this not very good looking texture. It's stuff that will be noticeable and it will make it feel not quite right. Now as for wounds, you will have decals at the point of impact, different decals for whether you're using a gun or the baton, and you do have a generic overlay as well. As for the looks, the decals are okayish, nothing that will wow you, but it will deliver decently visible feedback in combat. However, there very much are issues. First of all, the wound activation is not consistent. Sometimes you really will have them on every hit, sometimes not. And the blood part is also very weird. So my initial impression was that you have this kind of like a Dying Light 2-esque blood overlay, generic splatter all over the character that gets stronger as he takes more damage. Especially in melee combat, where the decal sometimes isn't auto-visible, as I mentioned, gets glitched out for some reason, and the splatter, the generic splatter, is the dominant response. But that isn't quite the case. After reviewing some footage and doing some more specific testing, I saw that you don't actually have a function of blood directly around the wound. So what I think you have is the following. You do have the function of blood specifically around the point of amputation, you do have the function of blood specifically around the wound, but you do also have this function of a generic blood splatter overlay. It may or may not be activated on a dismembering or a non-dismembering hit. So, you may be in a fight, you do a few hits, all the blood will be specific to those hits, and then you take one hit, one shot somewhere, and that splatters the entire, or almost the entire character in that generic overlay. And, as I mentioned, it happens very often, so the overlay will be the most dominant response. It makes almost all characters look buried up in the exact same way, and that is just unfortunate. As for hazards, what you have is either obliteration of the character or just activation of the big mutilation and the overlay. That includes impalement too. As for the player character, you will see him get covered in blood after engagements in close proximity, but more importantly, you will see very nice, often nasty and quite creative death sequences, usually for when he's grabbed. As for the blood spilling, you will have stains for the initial impacts, and blood pools. As for the looks though, it varies. So the respawn stains on the floor will generally be this droplet pattern with the occasional chunkier stain. Issue is, those are used for everything. Gunfire, melee, explosives, dismembering hits, and so on, and that just doesn't deliver great aftermath. That is a shame. The mechanic is consistent, and with better looks and different stains for different instances, it would have delivered a much stronger effect. It is better on vertical surfaces. So, first up, you will have patterns with a dripping down thing, and I have seen chunks of flesh stuck on walls, which is very cool and a very uncommon touch. So kind of a post-op addition, I think I noticed after recording some more footage, you will have some spilling while the character is in the death animation on the ground. It does look cool, but the feature is not consistent. Even when trying to test and film specifically it, I either had trouble activating it or it would just glitch out. Now as for the aftermath, while you're around, bodies and blood pools will stay. The respawn stains have a limit, so after I killed 3 characters, I still had the full aftermath, killed 3 more, and much of the stains for the first guys have vanished. There is no configurability for that, neither in the game's menu or in the INI files. Now animations are the strongest aspect by far. You have nice and weighty responses for the initial hits, characters can be knocked down, survive dismemberment, and change their behavior accordingly. But what stood out to me personally even more is the death animations. So you will see characters fall and wiggle for a bit on the floor. Those are very well animated and I really like how they are done here. On top of that, you also have finishers. You can perform them when you sneak up, and they can also get activated during melee combat. Once again, well animated and very cool. So how does the whole thing come together? To me it feels like a very mixed bag. Despite some cool features, the body damage doesn't deliver good feedback. Mostly because of the generic splatter, which will be the dominant response, and whatever they have for the non-stump flesh also does not look good. The blood spilling also could have delivered a much stronger effect, with better stains for the floor, more variety in those, and with configurability options. But the part that feels real good, that did very much impress me, is the animations aspect, both in the initial impression and very much affirmed as I was playing it. As you can see, no aspect here has been neglected, that is very much noteworthy, but I can't recommend it for a responsive experience in this state. That is it for this video. Do let me know how you feel in the comment section, and if you enjoyed it, subscribe and share it around. And do consider supporting the channel, either here as a channel member or on Patreon. For $1 a month, you get these videos a week early, you get the interviews a week early, and of course you do very much help out. So big thank you to all the supporters, and consider joining as well. Also, if you like the music you hear in the intro, outro, and in the background, the YouTube and Spotify playlists are in the description. Until next time!